Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm just a guy on my lunch break, and my name is Corey. I will be your host today. If you've watched a few of my videos and have not yet, please subscribe to the channel. That is your payment. It's very quick. It takes you 2 seconds to do it, and then you can watch my content forever for free. What a bargain. It's a very good bargain. And most people have been doing that. And I've been getting, my subscribership has been increasing pretty much daily. So most everyone is honoring that and doing that when I ask them to. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you guys for that support. So I'm going to go ahead and go over some comments today. It is Friday, man. What a week. I'm really happy that it is Friday. And I don't know, man. I've been working for the weekend for so long that I don't know what I would do if I was one of those people who has this weird off schedule. Well, it's weird off schedule to me. To other people, it may not be an off schedule. In other words, if you work second shift, or if you're one of those people that does 3 days on, 4 days off, or if you work on the weekend, or if you're off, several days throughout the week, but then you work the whole weekend shift, that sort of thing. I guess if that's what your life is built around and that's what you're used to, then, no problems. I've been working for the weekend so long now, I just don't know if I can handle working on a weekend. I'm sure I could if I had to. I would have to do what I had to do to support my family, of course. But thank God I just work Monday through Friday. And then I have those couple of days on the weekend. And it's set in stone every week, so I never have to work on a Saturday or Sunday. Not at my job anyway. No, I do work at home. I'm always working on something, because when you don't have a lot of time during the week, you spend the weekends catching up on that which you didn't have time to do during the week. That's what happens when you're a busy person, when you have a family to support and to take care of. And I've got a 17-year-old who's a senior in high school, trying to stay on top of him, make sure that he's, studying, doing his assignments. I mean, he does that himself, but he's much like I was when I was a 17-year-old. It is not on the top of his list of priorities to get really good grades. It's just not. I love my son. He's a wonderful person. He's a great person. Really cool to talk to, just laid back kid. Anything I ask him to do, he always does it with a good attitude. A positive attitude, kind of a positive outlook. So I'm proud of him for that and for a lot of other things. But one thing in one area that he is much like his dad, where I wish I could change it, is he just doesn't really give much of a crap about his grades. Now, I started to care about my grades much more once I went to college, right? I think it just had to do with my age, the level of maturity at that time. But when I was in high school, for me, all I was concerned about is hanging out with my friends, what girlfriend I had that week, or what my girlfriend was doing, or what my friends were doing, or going to play basketball in the afternoons, or, I had, my priorities were absolutely not prioritized in a way. What do you know? Priorities being prioritized. Damn, you'd never think that. But they were not prioritized in such a way to where getting good grades was at the top of the list. They just weren't. I just didn't care. And, both of my parents are educators. Both of them retired from education. And it's not that they didn't stress the importance of it. They absolutely did. And they tried to stay on me about it, but, they had jobs. They had stuff they had to do to take care of the home and take care of the family. And it's one of those things when you have a 17-year-old kid, you can't do it for them. If they don't want it and they're not willing to go after it, there's not but so much you can do. Now, there are times where if he needs help with something, especially if it's something like math or something, we will kind of intervene on his behalf and either help him or get him some help if he's not understanding, or reach out to one of his teachers and see if he can come in and make up a test or do test corrections when he's gotten a really low grade or something like that. We will do those sort of things, but we can't sit down with him every day and make sure that he's doing every one of his assignments and sit there and watch him do it. And we've got a baby at home and we don't have time. You know, we don't have time to do it. So a lot of it ultimately is up to him. And unfortunately, just like his papa, when he's in high school, when I was in high school rather, and he's just not that concerned about it. He just wants the shit to be over with. He's just ready to get to that point where these mean-ass people aren't making him have to sit and learn these things that he does not care about and does not care to learn, and that he'll probably never use again, much of it. You know, and I think that's where a lot of high school students stand. They're like, now why the fuck am I doing this? Now why am I learning these algebraic equations? Why am I doing that? You know, and why am I worried about what X is equivalent to? Why, you know, why? You know, and I mean, other than just showing that, hey, sometimes in this society, you have to do shit that you don't want to do, and that's just part of being a successful individual. So here, you know, it ain't gonna stop. You know, when you get out of school and you go to work somewhere, I mean, unless you're one of those really fortunate small percentages of the population that just are lucky enough to do exactly what you love to do. You know, they say, find what you love to do and then figure out a way to make money at it and you'll never work a day in your life. That's a very popular saying. And some people, in fact, are able to go there and able to experience that. Now, I'm not saying it just accidentally happens or that the shit just accidentally falls in people's lap and they get lucky. I'm not saying that. I attribute it to good planning, careful steps throughout each phase of their life, making smart choices. You know, I attribute it, hard work, obviously, I attribute it to all that. So I'm not saying, oh, you just got lucky. You get to do what you want to do every day and you get paid for it. No. They may have planned it that way, and they may have worked their asses off to get into a situation where, look at me, now I'm getting paid for something that I love to do. But whether it's just their hard work, they're making more careful choices, or, you know, or it just accidentally lands in their lap, whatever the reason is behind that small percentage of the population being able to do what they love for a job, there are a larger percent of the population that they never get there. And for whatever reason, things don't work out. They end up making different decisions. Sometimes their decisions slow them down or, you know, decrease their focus or cause their focus to be on something else. And then they just end up kind of falling into, you know, organically falling into another opportunity or another job or another career or whatever the case is. And I would say 99% of the people, I wouldn't say 99, maybe 95, I would say at least 95% of the people in this world are doing something for a career and making money in some sort of way that is not like, if I came up to you and said, bro, what would be your dream job? If you, in fact, could get paid to do something that you absolutely love to do, what would that be? And I would say about 95% of the population would be like, well, it's not what I'm doing. I can tell you that shit. You know? And so it seems like sometimes that's what school is. Even though you're not going to use the shit, it's kind of setting kids up for, hey, bro, sometimes you just got to do shit in life that you don't want to do. Here, get used to it. Do this fucking math right here and sit down and shut up. You know, it's almost that sort of thing sometimes. I know some of it ends up being relative. I get that, some of it. And if anything, it does teach children how to kind of, it gives them confidence in some ways. It lets them know that if you buckle down and if you look over something and you take the steps to be successful at something, you can achieve things that you didn't know you can achieve, like algebraic equations, you know, stuff like that. So I know it has its purpose, but by and large, the way most high school students look at it is, bro, I don't really give a shit about this. Why do I give a shit about this? You know, why do I care about these historical facts that happened 300 years ago before I was ever born? Why do I give a shit about that? You know, and it's one of those things. I was there too. But anyway, I've spent almost 10 minutes talking about some random shit already because that's how I feel today on Friday. And if you don't like it, then you just don't like it. I don't know what to tell you. You know, there's been a couple of people to try to tell me they didn't like it. But then I've had people say, hey man, I just enjoy listening to you. I like it when you ramble. It's relaxing. You got a good voice for it. You're a natural. So, you know, it is truly one of those things where you just can't freaking please everyone. All right. So if you're one of those people that is displeased because I just spent 10 minutes talking about my son in high school and how neither one of us wanted to make good grades in high school, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Sometimes I just want to talk about my life because this channel is kind of about my life, you know, and I talk about your guys' lives on here as well, but hell, man, it's about my life. It's about just a guy on my lunch break. And where you guys come in is you share a common interest with me. You share common struggles with me as well. As I read through your comments, that becomes very evident and very clear. So Shay.Shay83 asked the other day about ketamine infusions. I am going to summon the collective knowledge of the people on this because I know very little about ketamine. I've personally never used therapeutic ketamine infusions or ketamine at all, in fact. But her question was, has anyone here tried therapeutic ketamine infusions to get off of Kratom? I'm searching high and low for any resources that aren't going to be an everyday substitute. Started Kava 18 months ago to help, and now that's a daily habit, and it's wrecking my skin and my wallet. Oh, man. First off, sorry to hear that. That makes me feel a little bit guilty because I've actually, well, I definitely wouldn't say promoted. I haven't promoted anything on here, but I have said at times that Kava is something that can kind of help with withdrawals from Kratom, especially at nighttime. I found that when I was doing my taper and I was coming off of Kratom, and then once I completely got off of Kratom, I used Kava several times, especially at night, to kind of help to, you know, decrease the severity of the withdrawals, and I found that did help some. It's not going to be a replacement. Kava is not, because it acts on different receptors. You know, you got Kratom, which activates the opioid receptors, and then you have Kava, which does not activate the opioid receptors. So I found personally, you get the body relaxation kind of piece with the Kava, but it does not hit the opioid receptor. So I've never found there to be any euphoria or any, I mean, to me, when I take Kava, I don't even really have that feeling or have that recognition of like, oh, I feel good now, or I feel euphoric, or, you know, now my mood is uplifted or my mood is happy. I don't know. Obviously, everyone is not that way. Kava is a huge thing, and it's been, you know, used for centuries, and it's a tradition in a lot of what I guess Eastern countries, I guess, it's kind of part of their culture, like the kava bars, and they take, you know, kava infused drinks on a regular basis, stuff like that. And it does give you kind of a body high, but you know, it's one of those things, and we've talked about this. Sometimes I think for people who have an addictive mindset, or you can call us addicts, I guess. I'm not a big fan of that word, but I guess that is because it's a label, and I'm not big on labels. But I'm gonna say an addicted person. An addicted person, I think a lot of times it's the placebo effect. You know, I think certain addicted people, you could hand them a freaking sugar pill, and 30 minutes later, they're like, oh, shit. Damn, what kind of sugar was that? Shit, I feel good, you know. And that's some special sugar. That was some special sugar. Damn. You know, and I think that's truly the case for some people. And I think something like kava, that could be the case with people as well. I didn't really find myself wanting to take excess amounts of kava. There were probably times that I did take it that I probably shouldn't have, I guess. But, you know, this was when I was completely off of Kratom, right? Because Kratom did what I wanted it to do, you know. And then if I couldn't have the Kratom, kind of the next best thing, you know, because I'm not big on drinking, I'm not big on alcohol, and kind of the next best thing was taking some kava at night. I find that, and they say, listen, you know, a lot of it is misinformation, and that's one of the issues that a lot of people have with Kratom itself, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And when it first came out, it was like this harmless supplement, and, you know, a lot of people started taking it thinking that it didn't even have addictive properties. And they're like, oh shit, I found the, you know, miracle supplement. And then, you know, ultimately what they understand is, if it's something that hits the opiate receptors in your brain, it absolutely can become physically, you can become physically dependent upon it, okay? That's anything that hits those opiate receptors. I don't care how it's marketed. I don't care how unaddictive they say it is, right? Kava, however, I personally got on here, and I've read also that it's non-habit forming. Listen, that's obviously not the case with some people. Now, is it because that it's really not addictive? Or is it because, you know, an addicted person is just replacing the drug that they've stopped with anything, that it doesn't even matter much what it is? You know what I mean? I don't know the direct answer to that, but she says, I started kava 18 months ago to help, and now it's a daily habit. I don't know if she means by daily habit. And I will say this. I do know that kava is known to have implications on the liver, implications on liver health. So just be aware of that. And I'm sure Shay.Shay83, I'm sure you already know that. I'm sure you've read up on it. I mean, most people don't just start taking something regularly and they don't take it for 18 months without at some point looking it up and saying, oh, what the hell is this I'm taking? You know, and getting some information about it. So I'm sure you've done that. But, you know, she said it's a daily habit. That doesn't necessarily mean she's taking too much, really. Or it doesn't necessarily mean that she's taking it multiple times a day either. So she could just be taking it once a day, and that, you know, may not be that big of a deal. But she did reference here that it's wrecking my skin and my wallet. The kava wrecking your skin, I think, is definitely indicative of its effects on the liver. And that's one of the first things that, if you look up kava and its effects and this and that and the other, and a lot of people used it as like a replacement for alcohol, and it was one of those things like, okay, well, that's great, but alcohol is known to wreck your liver, especially if you drink it in excess. And then they're replacing it with something that is a root and that is ground up as a root and consumed. And kava is also known to have some poor implications for your liver. Now, anything can be particularly bad for your liver if it's taken in excess, if it's taken in, too much. That's kratom, pain pills, especially pain pills, the acetaminophen and stuff like that. I still to this day have times where I'm just like, where I don't feel that great in my liver area. And I think that's one of the reasons I got diagnosed with a fatty liver 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm fine. My liver enzymes are always good. I'm always good when I get tested and everything. But, there still are times where I'm like, I think that my liver is probably got some scarring on it, from where I just damaged it with taking all that acetaminophen back in the day when I was abusing pills. But, I'm fine, I'm perfectly fine. I'm healthy, and doctors have said I'm healthy. But, it's one of those things where you can damage your liver by using something like the kava. So just be aware of that. And I think that's probably why it's wrecking your skin. Kava is not really cheap either. I don't know how much you're going through it, but back to the ketamine. I did look up what ketamine was so I could discuss it a little bit. Again, I don't have any personal experience with ketamine, but ketamine is a dissociative drug. Ketamine is a dissociative anesthetic used medically for induction and maintenance of anesthesia. It is also used as a treatment for depression, a pain management tool, and a recreational drug. Reduces sensations in the body. And you can get it online. It is legal. So it is something that seems like you can purchase and you can obtain it without a prescription. Okay. But I've heard people talk about ketamine before, and I know there's probably some people on this channel that have tried it. So I don't want to recommend it to Shay for sure, because it's one of those things when you're dealing with kratom or anything else, you want to be careful about substituting. And that's one of the things when I was tapering from the kratom, during that process, I had a few people that were just very insistent about, well, try this, you can replace it with this, and then take these 2 supplements along with it, and then you can take a little bit of this, and then you can take some what they say, God, not Xanax, gabapentin. I heard that one a bunch. And then you get some gabapentin, use that for a week. I'm like, whoa. When I was coming off of kratom, I didn't have any desire to replace it with 10 other things. Like, I don't want to do that. Especially for somebody who, has the propensity for getting addicted to things. And if it's something that you could possibly get addicted to, I ain't trying to do that when I'm coming off of kratom. When I was coming off, I wanted to be completely free of pretty much everything. The only thing I did was a couple of times throughout that process, like on the weekends where I would drink a little bit. I would have some drinks. But I didn't even do that during the week when I was completely off of kratom. I think a lot of times it just makes it harder for you to see really where you're at when you've got all these other things in the mix, and granted, depending on if you're one of those people like, look, I just can't take the withdrawals are just too freaking much, which is why I say to taper, because if you taper, the withdrawals really aren't that bad. But if you're one of those people like, look, I just can't take the withdrawals, so I got to try this and that and the other, that's fine. Fair enough. And there are some things out there, including the gabapentin and stuff like that, that people suggest. But I've had people, suggest the gabapentin, and, I've had people suggest taking Suboxone to get off of kratom. I'm like, bro, that's like using a fire hose to put out a lit match. I'm not doing that. The Suboxone in the end can end up being worse than the addiction you had to kratom. So, and I know people do it, and if a physician is overseeing it, and you feel like, it's one of those things where your doctor is closely overseeing how much you're taking, how long you're going to be taking of it, and is it going to be involved every step of the way in your taper, then maybe you could go to your doctor and say, hey, I've been taking this Kratom, I don't know what you know about it, but it's similar to an opiate. I'm wondering if I could get something to kind of help me a little bit to wean myself off with withdrawals. You may want to do something like that, but me, Kratom is one of those things where it's just not, to me, a person who's been through withdrawals from heavy opiates like Percocets, there was a time in my late 20s, early 30s where I was taking 120 Percocets a month and then running out of that prescription after I had a prescription for them. I was running out of that prescription after about 2 weeks, and then I was getting more narcotics on the street. So I'm a person who, and I quit that cold turkey. Cold turkey. No withdrawals, no help, no intervention. The first time I quit, no help, no intervention from a psychotherapist, a drug addiction specialist, no Suboxone, no nothing. I just did it a complete ass cold turkey. And it was hell. It was hell. And I'm not saying that Kratom withdrawal cannot be bad, but I think that it's all relative. And there are people on here who have never been addicted to any other sort of opiate. They've never been addicted to the Percocets, to the Vicodins, to the heroin, to the fentanyl, all these things. A lot of people, their first experience to the rodeo with an opioid-like substance is Kratom. That's it. They've never done anything else. And then, they stay on Kratom for a while, and then when they get off, they're just like, oh my God, the withdrawals are horrible. It is complete hell for blah, 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 blah. And again, listen, like I said, everyone's different, and these withdrawals hit different people in different ways and with different levels of intensity. So while I'm not saying that those people are wrong, I am saying that their experience of it coming off of Kratom may be somewhat skewed from what others of us experience. Because for me, when I came off of Kratom, all I could do was compare it to how I felt when I was coming off of Percocets, a heavy addiction to Percocets. And there just wasn't a comparison. I just got to be honest. Kratom, and I did quit Kratom cold turkey at one point. I quit it from cold turkey from the MIT's extracts about 1.5 years ago. And it took about 2 weeks for everything to kind of settle and for me to be able to start sleeping again and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, the night times sucked, the restless legs, the insomnia, not being able to get, comfortable and stuff, that was the worst of it for sure. And it's enough to take a weaker person. It's enough to take them by surprise for sure, and it's enough to be considered hell. But if I took that and I compared it to withdrawal from the Percocets, it just wasn't the same. It's not on the same level. The Percocets are always 1,000% of the time just worse, and I think it just has to do with Kratom being a partial agonist, and stuff like Percocet is not partial. It's a full-on agonist, so it's going to get you higher, and if it gets you higher and gives you more euphoria, then your body is going to experience more withdrawals when you go to come off of it. So I would just say, I said all that to say this, Shay. Be careful about using something like ketamine to get off of Kratom. Be careful about using anything that could be considered addictive to get off of Kratom. And anytime I've ever came off of something like Kratom, pills, whatever, I always was just really careful to not supplement with anything. Of course, like vitamins, regular vitamins, minerals, magnesium, stuff like that, the all natural stuff is okay. But you just be careful about a lot of people want, you know, a lot of people don't want to pay the piper. We talk about paying the piper on here. You take these substances for a long period of time, kratom, other opioid-like substances. When you come off of it, a lot of people want to get off completely scot-free, and they want to be able to quit, and they don't want to have not one withdrawal. They want it to be a completely seamless process from on and addicted to off and free of it. They don't want to experience any hiccups, any negative side effects or withdrawals. And listen, you're just going to have to pay the piper. To some degree, you're going to have to pay the piper when you come off, you know, because if you find something that's going to help decrease your withdrawals, but that thing that which helps decrease your withdrawals is also an addictive substance, then you run the risk, like Suboxone, for example. You know, I took Suboxone for a very short period of time. The second time that I quit pills way back in the day. The second and the last time. I never went back to them after that. Pills, that is. And it was way worse coming off of Suboxone. Way worse coming off of Suboxone than it was even the pills. And way worse, for sure, than coming off of Kratom. So you just got to be careful with that. Just be careful with that. I'm not saying don't do it. I don't know a lot about ketamine, but I'm going to wrap it up with this. Hey, talk to Shay. Let her know what you know about ketamine, how to get it, if that's a feasible option when coming off of something like Kratom. It seems like it would be. It's a fast-acting, you know, treatment for like depression. They use it as a pain management tool, and it's a recreational drug. So it says it right here, recreational drug. So just keep that in mind. You know, you don't want to, oh, well, let me use this ketamine to get off of Kratom, and then 3 months later, 3 months down the road, you pop on the channel and we're having a different conversation that you can't get off of ketamine. You know, so I always tell people, just be careful. Try to use natural remedies when trying to come off of Kratom, like the hard exercise, drinking a tons of water, making sure you're supplementing with vitamins and minerals, magnesium at night, use some melatonin, which is non-habit forming, to kind of help you sleep. You know, do all of those natural things. Unless you know that you're going to be able to stay clean of this ketamine and this not going to be an issue for you, I would kind of steer clear of that if it was possible, okay? But Shay, thank you for the comment. I appreciate it. At VapeLegend85 says, yeah, I wish my wife understood. We were talking about having someone in your home or in your life that supported you and kind of knew what you were going through. Because when you talk to someone who's never been addicted to anything about sharing with them about your addiction, they're just like, oh, okay, yeah, that sucks, man. I'll pray for you, you know. And it's not their fault. You know, it's actually good on them that they've never been addicted to something. But they can only have so much empathy because they've never experienced it. You know, so they're fashionably sensitive. But as far as being a real rock for you to lean on and to lean against and stand on during that time, it's hard for them to do that because they've never been through it. And I was talking about how, you know, supportive my wife was, and his response was, yeah, I wish my wife understood. She expects me to just quit, and I can't just quit. I'm tapering. And she's like, what do you have left? Is it, well, wait, what you have left, is it, well, I don't have enough, well, I'm sorry. Guys, hey, use a period, use a period or a comma. There's literally about 3 sentences here, and there's not one period or one comma. I'm not picking on you. It does make it harder to read. Try to use a period here somewhere. Yeah, I wish my wife understood. She expects me to just quit. I can't just quit. I'm tapering. And she's like, what do you have left? Well, I don't have enough to taper, so guess what? When I'm out, it'll be a big fight. Like always, I have slowed down. Okay, so he's saying his wife doesn't get it. His wife doesn't understand. man, I mean, I feel for you. There's a lot of folks that have been there. You know, I don't know that there's a way to make her understand, and you definitely don't want to try to get her addicted to something so you'll understand it, and then, you know, get her addicted, and she's like, oh, give me some more of that Kratom. And you're like, oh, see? Yeah, see? Now you get it. Now you know what I was going through. That's not the move, dude. You don't want to get your wife hooked on something. Yeah, I would say just go about it in a methodical way, and try not to talk about it too much with her. And just go about it in a methodical way. Watch my Kratom Taper playlist. Do it. Taper every day, and just explain to her that you're going to be really physically and emotionally ill for a little while if you don't taper. But you'll have to stick with the taper, because if you start jumping on and off the bandwagon, that's when she's going to be like, see, I knew you weren't going to. She's going to start losing trust and faith in you, which a lot of us have been there, people who have been addicted to something. But just be consistent. That's the main thing I can tell you. Be consistent. Use every tool that you know on this channel and others to get off. Heavy exercise, vitamins, minerals, drink tons of water, all those things, and then actually get off. And then she's at a point probably where she doesn't want to hear any words from you. She wants to see. She wants to see improvement. She wants to see you get off of it. And it's fair. That's fair by her, because you don't know what your situation is, and maybe it's really running your relationship into the ground. It could be affecting your finances. You know, she has her own reasons, and plus she just doesn't want her man to be heavily addicted to something like that, and it's understandable, you know. But yeah, that's what I say. Just do it, man. Stop talking about it to her and just do it. And then she'll begin to trust that you've gotten it done and that things are changing. Anyway, I got to go. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel if you've not. Liked the video. Comment down below. Let me know your story, and maybe I'll include it on my video. All right. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next time. Corey out.